Hey, hello everyone. Just stick with us for another few more minutes. We'll get started. It's already 9:57. Yeah. So we'll get started by 10. Just stick with us for another few minutes. Thank you. Okay, I think let's get started. I hope you guys are able to hear me loud and clear. Just type down yes in the chat window if you're able to hear me loud and clear, or a VIC so that I can get a fair enough idea. Okay. V yes VIC. Okay, great. Let me just turn on my camera. Yeah. Okay, I think you are able to see me as well. Okay, Ankesh, you are. Hope you are able to hear me.
Yes, I'm able to hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. Okay, so first of all, a warm welcome to everyone joining in on a Saturday morning. So I think there are some few of the new joinees, so I'll just set the expectations right. So this is the last chapter of the C conference. that was started a few weeks back. So the main idea behind the C conference was to give a fair enough idea about how data analytics, data science, machine learning is being utilized in the Southeast Asia region in different industries, obviously. Yeah. So with that said, today we have one of the finest speakers, Mr. Ankesh Diwari. So with about Ankesh Diwari, Ankesh works at Rakuten Symphony as a product leader. He has been, having 13 plus years of experience in leading, managing, and mentoring teams in data analytics for both product and service focused organizations, namely, let's say Oracle, IBM, HP, Reliance, etc. He has also been awarded as the top Tech 50 visionary for the year 2019 at the Intercore Festival in Dubai. Congratulations, Ankesh, for that. And a few of his products which are there in the market are Intel's fiber optic sensing, etc. Yeah. Apart from these achievements, Mr. Tiwari is also an AIPMM Global Ambassador and a certified product manager. With that said, a warm welcome to you, Ankesh. I think you will be able to give us a fair enough idea about what is analytics and most importantly, how analytics is creating wonders in the telecom industry. Yeah. With that said, I would welcome Ankesh to the panel now. Over to you, Ankesh.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the warm welcome. And yes, I appreciate everyone to join on Saturday morning. And so, guys, before we jump down to the discussion of data analytics, I would like to tell you a few things that I would be telling you about how data analytics from has evolved or has helped telecom and is still helping telecom to grow or face their challenges, day-to-day challenges, and reduce their operational cost and improve their network. And also why data is important. As I can understand that in your previous sessions, you might have encountered the power of overall AIML, but AIML is precisely or a data analytics, but it is like an icing or a cherry on the top of the cake. Why? Because any algorithm will not work if your data is not curated. We all have been hearing that data is a new oil and data is very important. I'm quite sure that few of you guys might still be in that stage where you would have certain questions. Okay,
Ankesh,
data is
sorry to cut you down, but I think you are stucking in between. There is some network lag from your side.
okay. Let me check. Just hold on.
Yeah. With that said, even to give an idea about the students, so the session is going to be split into two parts. We'll have around 40 to 45 minutes of the session by Ankesh, and then we'll open up the forum for Q&A. So for the questions and answers, I want all of you to keep your questions noted down in the Q&A panel. Okay, so there is a Q&A option in your Zoom dashboard itself. If you are able to see that, just type down done in the chat window. Just type down done if you are able to see that. Everyone. Okay, done. So just whatever questions you guys are gonna have, just keep it put, in the Q&A panel. We'll obviously make sure that we'll be taking up as many questions as possible. Okay, Ankesh is already here. Over to you, Ankesh. Yeah.
Thank you. I hope I am audible now, loud and clear, without any hiccups. And apologies for the network. But having said that, where was I? We all know that data is a new oil. There's nothing new. But I'm quite sure that most of us still wonders, why do we call it as an oil? As in, we do understand that any information is always valuable, but how does it help different industries? Now, I won't be talking about all the industries, but I would be focusing on one of the very important industry, which is communication industry, or in other words, telecom. And with the help of this particular telecom, I'm going to tell you a story, which would emphasize on uh, telling you what is the power of data analytics, or at least tell you how data analytics clubbed with data visualization, which is considered as a separate stream, but data analytics is a combination of data processing and data visualization. So they are like brother and sisters. You cannot really separate, or brother and brother, whatever you want to call it. Uh, and how this has evolved and helped telecom to solve the problems. So the story out here is in telecom as a consumer, we have in the Southeast Asia region, we have multiple telecom vendors. Like we have Ooredoo, we have Indonesia Telecom, we have Hutchinson Indonesia, we have Singtel, we have Startup and StarHub, and so on. What are the challenges which are faced by telecom? So as a consumer, you can talk about a lot of things like my network at times drop, or if I connect using my phone in today's world and utilize the mobile internet, there is a lag, which means it affects my experience. From a telecom perspective, the challenges is how, apart from giving the seamless customer experience, how do I plan my network? How do I reduce my operational cost? Now, what is an operational cost? Operational cost is maintenance of the network, as in network performance should be great, faults should be less, or if there are certain faults, it should be proactively detected so that necessary arrangements can be done. But have you ever wondered how is it possible? Like, uh, how can I basically talk about customer experience? Well, my friend, here is where the telecom, from the perspective of telecom, the data plays a lot of role. Now, I would be, before I jump down to what role the data plays. First and foremost, you need to understand what is the cost which telecom bears if the data is not there, or if the data analytics is not done properly. So based on certain reports, from the perspective of network outages, 31% of the telecom says that they have lost more than $1 million in past 12 months due to only network outages. Leave about other stuff, leave about uh, the overall seamless video buffering and other stuffs. 83% says that for them, the network resilience is very, very, very important. And 3% says that there has been an increase. How much increase? 25% increase in network outages. So guys, do you really understand if a network outage is there, what are the different problems which are associated with it? I'll simplify it for you. Your WhatsApp will not work. Your mobile internet would not work. Your Google Map will not work. Voice call drop is an issue which we have been facing within Southeast Asia, and not only Southeast Asia, even if you go to the other part of the world, this is an issue. Network planning, where should I put my tower? And with 5G coming in, it is like the problem is being enhanced. The customer service in telecom, which in today's world is also connected with what we call it as IPTV, gets impacted, which means you cannot really watch your favorite series or Netflix over your smart TV or your handheld device. And there has been a considerable increase in increase in the customer service degradation. And with 5G coming in, the challenges gets increased. Crowd management, it becomes difficult. Now you would be wondering what crowd management is. Let me tell you. I was just few days back, I was just watching a movie, and in between a movie, there was an advertisement. And one of our famous cricketer spoke about that how 5G has will help seamless transmission of live crickets, or how 5G would help even within the stadium to seamlessly give the clear picture, or give a seamless experience to the customer, or I would call it as the spectators, about how the cricket is being played. This is like managing the crowd, eventually viewing experience, and building the autonomous network. We all always see that, like Star Wars, we would have some vehicles coming in who would do smart delivery, who would do a lot of which would make our life easier. Smart cars, Tesla, they are all examples of it. Do you know how do they work? They work on the basis of these communication. Telecom is the backbone. But with so many challenges, how will telecom resolve it? Have you ever wondered that how, when we talk about, everyone talks about seamless customer experience, everyone talks about, hey, I have an availability of 99%. How is it possible? It is the data which tells you a story, a data which tells where you are, a data which basically tells what is going, what is not going right. And eventually, it is the information which is embedded in data which helps you to make decisions and build, run your algorithms to basically take a proactive step. Now, you would be wondering that, okay, so much information is there in data. Well, why are still we facing it? Because the information is only extracted if you analyze the data properly, if you analyze and visualize the data properly. Having said that, what does it do? It basically reduces the operational cost. How does it reduce the operational cost? Let me tell you. Typically, in a telecom world in Southeast Asia, and specifically in Southeast Asia, because of not only because of the heavy the diversity in population, but the heavy usage of telecom, or the penetration of telecom in daily life, the telecom providers have basically been facing this problem that where do I set a network? And if I have found out where I'm going to set a network, then I have to send someone, and that person would establish the network. And then eventually there could be a possibility of certain human errors, which might give rise to certain other problems, which means maintenance of the network becomes not only difficult or complex, but a costly affair. Data helps in understanding how the network is performing well, and so that you can automate the management of network operations. You don't have to send everyone and any person onto the site unless there is a problem. The minor problems can easily be fixed. But how is it fixed? It's the data which tells. A data would tell, okay, in a particular network site tower, there are 300,000 subscribers which have been latched in. And with respect to the capacity of the network, we cannot really hold more than $100,000 people, which means the overall telecom provider now knows that I have to basically work around in optimizing the latch in and latch out process. And that can be done through n number of ways, by limiting the call duration per subscriber, which we have always faced, even in India, that if I'm calling a certain person and I've been speaking to a person for an hour or more than an hour, it gets automatically disconnected. Have you ever wondered how this has happened? Well, everyone, we only tend to say that, okay, so there is some regulation and telecom provider would have done. But how did telecom provider even knew that 1 hour, 1.5 hours is the appropriate time to disconnect the call? It is the data. It is the data usage. It is the data which tells what is the bandwidth which has been consumed. And automating it reduces the operational cost, because the overall human or manpower, which basically is required, that not only that gets reduced, but also the maintenance cost, the operational and maintenance cost of network by automating gets reduced, because the business impact gets reduced. Now, coming back to the second point, how data helps in evolving customer experience. I'll give you an example. See, this is my mobile phone. And if I open my mobile phone, and if I want to order food, so what do we do in Singapore? Whether it's Singapore or in Indonesia, I would use Gojek. In Singapore, I can use Uber Eats or any of the vendors. But the bottom line is, if I'm using my handheld device and if I'm clicking on any of the app, it will take my network bandwidth. The backbone is telecom. So if the app does not open, or my overall confirmation of the order is not done in a stipulated period of time, my experience goes down. So you would be wondering, how does data come into picture? Okay, there is a network problem in the real world, and it takes time for certain instances. But how does data helps in improving it? Well, my dear friend, in telecom, the data helps and tells you a story that for a certain area, how many times the overall transactions failed. Using OTT apps, how many times a subscriber basically tried to open Netflix to watch certain series or video, but the buffering was too high. How many times a WhatsApp call was made, but it didn't went through. These all are related to customer experience. The historical data tells what happened in the past, and by analyzing that data, telecom providers are able to identify that which is that area where this problem is being faced the most, and then with the help of data, the root cause analysis is done, and which helps the telecom providers to understand why the customer experience has gone down, and then they take a strategic decision, either expand the network or optimize the bandwidth, or activate the sleeping cells, depending upon the scenario, which lands down to customer experience. Another beautiful example of customer experience is whenever we have New Year. During New Year, at a central location, in Singapore, it is Marina Bay. So people generally flock together. Why do people flock together? To see the fireworks. Now, you would be wondering, how is this New Year thing related to what we are talking today? Well, my friend, when there are a lot of people, which means there is a lot of usage of smartphones. And when there is a lot of usage of smartphones, either in form of voice or WhatsApp call or video streaming, which means at a particular area, there is a huge load on that particular network. How do you manage it? Because if there is a load, there will definitely be a degradation in quality. So quality of experience gets impacted. Data tells, with the help of data, historical data, the telecom providers are able to identify, or rather predict to certain accuracy, that what is the probability of people flocking together at a certain place during an event. And by knowing that, telecom providers proactively take necessary steps to ensure that for a certain period of time, when a particular event is happening, and when there is a lot of people, or there is a crowd is going to get gathered, the network experience is seamless, or at least it does not really impact the quality. And this is another way of improving the customer experience. This customer experience basically not only helps in allowing the telecom provider with their best of service, but also helps them to improve the network management and reduce the downtime. Eventually, so if you see one data with that information, not only solves the operational cost and customer experience, but is ensuring that overall downtime is reduced. Let me tell you another story. Imagine, guys, let's say you're based out of Singapore, and in Singapore, from Raffles Quay, you are basically moving towards airport, which is Wan Changi Airport. And as you pass your different location during your journey, you start getting messages based on offers, based on your taste, or based on your likingness, which is hyper personalization, which means, for example, I'm a foodie. Okay, so which means I like to eat food, but not a lot. And if during my journey, if I start getting messages which tells me which are the appropriate places where I should eat with a discount, how will I feel? I'll be on top of the world. I'll be on cloud nine. But how is it possible? Is it possible? Well, yes, it is possible, because we have been receiving message. But what is the background of it? The data, the way we traverse our apps, the way we consume our basically the way we carry out certain activities, which is using our smartphones, we basically leave a footprint. What is a footprint? Nothing but a data. One click is one footprint, one data point. And these data, when correlated, in in a certain fashion tells or describes the persona of the user, which is again categorized into different segments. And based on the categorization, the offers are basically rolled out, which means a foodie person, a person with a user persona who wants to add, who is like fond of food, will never get a message related to cars, or will never get a message related to apparels. These kind of offers or messages is real-time contextual offer. Why do I call it real-time? I'll tell you my experience. In India, when I was traveling from Bangalore hotel to a certain location, which was my hotel, and as I moved out of, as I landed on the Bangalore airport and switched off my phone, the first message which I got was, at Bangalore airport, what are the different areas, where the typical food of my taste is available with a discount. And I was hungry too. And I also observed that as I was passing through different areas of Bangalore, which we call it as crossroad or likewise, at every place, I used to get a message regarding what are the best eatery locations. This is what is real-time contextual offer. And this is basically attained by having the data curated and eventually visualized for a certain section of persona. This is how data solves the problem for the telecom. There are other ways too, where data solves the problem for telecom, but these are few of the ways. Now you would be wondering, okay, great. We do have an understanding that, yes, it reduces operational cost and network management and contextual offer. How does it look like? Like from the perspective of telecom provider, how does it help them to understand the call drops? How does it help them to understand the customer experience? Does it help them to understand how many subscribers are there? Well, my friend, it is basically, but before it is basically done with the help of visualization. And I would be showing you a few examples of those visualization. But before I do that, there is one more aspect which data helps the telecom providers, and that is to enable them make strategies. For example, till now we have seen, or we discussed, or basically I gave you a storyline of how data has enabled telecom to provide to achieve certain objectives, but we never spoke about the from the perspective of strategy. It is data. Once I understand how a particular network is performing, or how my user persona is there, or what are the faults which are occurring within a certain area or a certain region, uh, are there any alarms? It helps us to, and also if telecom is selling certain products, what is the overall performance of those products? We never discussed about it. And this is what I'm going to tell you. Data by itself helps the marketing team to analyze not only the sales of the product, but also to understand what is the quality of the content which is being delivered. By correlating the customer experience across different days, months, quarters, and yearly, it helps in always improving the customer experience. How? It helps in telling, using the forecast methodology, that what are the possible options which a which can be taken by a telecom provider to attain a certain goal. It helps to harness the power of video by streamlining by understanding what is with the current bandwidth which is being given by the network, how many times buffering is being happening for a certain area. Again, the exploited to a region and states and likewise or country, and eventually taking a step ahead to understand, is there a new technology which needs to be adopted to attain a certain speed. Now, what is that? How do you know what is that certain speed? It is the data along with the forecasting mechanism helps the telecom provider to understand that in order to reduce the buffering by certain factor, what should be the appropriate speed, which eventually increases the NPS, which is customer satisfaction score. So you would see that data not only reduces or helps in management of network, but it also enables the people, the telecom stakeholders, to take wise, efficient decisions or strategic decisions to enable and grow forward, which means, in short, help them to generate not only revenue, but solve the problems of the customer. Now, with that, going back to how does telecom understand these things? Because obviously, if data has so many things to tell, no one can really read the transactional data. There has to be a presentation layer, right? And which we call it as visualization. And I'm going to show you certain reports, obviously, which are available on public portal, which will help you to understand how telecom visualizes data. And these are the reports. For example, and I would be coming back to your questions, but let me first talk about the reports, because I believe you would wonder how it looks like. For example, if I want to see how has been the not only has been the distribution of radio towers, but eventually how it has been performing. For example, what is my capacity? What is my average capacity? And out of total capacity, how much it is being consumed. So with the help of data, such kind of tower dashboards are created, which talks about region wise, or at times this can be granularized into even area wise, to understand how not only the performance of radio, but radio towers, or which is nothing but, in a layman's language, the tower which you see, but also tells the telecom provider that how much time they have to ensure that the business, there is no impact to the customer. This is one way of using the data, which, or how the telecom provider uses it. Having said that, what are the other ways? Well, the other way is to understand the drop calls. Now we all have faced drop calls, but it is such kind of drop call dashboard based on the MSIDN, based on the channel available, based on whether the failures was temporary, or was it due to resource unavailability, or was it due to network outer, or was it due to switch equipment. How many, not only how many calls have been dropped, but it also helps telecom provider to understand, was there a percentage increase in drop calls or decrease in drop calls. Because it is very, very, very important for a telecom provider to know that the decision which they have taken to enhance the capability of the network, is it working correctly or not. It also talks about how or helps or enables the telecom providers to understand the drop calls per cell tower with an hourly statistics. So imagine, now you can imagine the power of data which is happening here. Apart from that, what are the other areas which helps, telecom provider to understand what is their subscriber base? So in telecom, there is always a summary dashboard, which is not only followed in India, but in Southeast Asia, region-wise gives them customer segmentation, which is related to the user persona, which helps in giving real-time contextual offer, or campaign management, or identifying the HNIs and giving them relevant packages. Also, it helps the telecom provider that the experience of the network which is being faced by customer, is it really a problem of a network, or is it a device problem? Because what happens is that, I'll give you, during 4G, when 4G was rolled out, there was this typical problem that I used to, generally people used to have is, and let me give you an hypothetical example. If I am that person, I would always complain to my service provider that, hey, I have taken 4G services, I have taken appropriate plan of 4G, and I have taken a 4G SIM, but I'm not getting a 4G speed. So imagine, what as a telecom provider would you think? Definitely the first thing is there a problem at a network level? Or what are the points where this particular number, MSISDN number, or is being latched? and then I would do a performance check. But what I would not do is a device check. The device, there are times when your device is not 4G compatible or 5G compatible. For example, if you take a Lava phone and try to insert a 4G SIM back during this 2019, 2020, it will not work. And this was a very big challenge for any telecom provider. Why? Because they were not able to understand why the particular experience is being impacted, or why the particular speed is not being given, in spite of all the plans are in place. The data, by analyzing the data, what data? By analyzing the subscriber data from CRM, CGF and CGNet, and correlating it with the device type, the telecom provider came up with a dashboard to understand how many of them are using 4G devices like Samsung, Nokia, or like Apple, and how many of the people are using so-called 4G devices but not compatible 4G devices like Lava, which has impacted. Now, this helped telecom provider in two ways. First, gave them a real root cause why a customer is facing an issue related to 4G service, but also enabled them to give a solution to the customer that, hey, customer, your device is not compatible to 4G, but we do have an offer. We have an offer where we can roll out or give you a 4G device at economical cost, and you can use the experience. A win-win situation for both telecom and eventually the subscriber. Imagine if this data would not have been there, or you would not have curated it. In both the cases, not only the quality of experience is getting impacted, but overall, you are basically lowering down your customer satisfaction score. And in a telecom world, which is majorly, yes, it works in B2B segment too, but it majorly works in B2C segment, where consumers experience and network plays an important role. A telecom provider also has to take care of the devices which is being used, because with the evolution on technology, it becomes very, very, very important to understand why a particular network is not working as it is supposed to be worked. And using that, not only by curating the data, but using the visualization power of data, or by putting a presentation layer on the data, you can basically solve this problem. And this cumulatively is known as what? Data analytics. It also helps you to reduce the customer churn and customer lifecycle value. And by now you would have understood how it reduces the customer churn and CLV. There are other telecom use cases also which we can talk about. We can talk about the Samsung Nokia, which I spoke about. We can talk about area-wise location location performance. We can talk about how network is enabling wallets to be used seamlessly at all the vendors or at all the outlets. Telecom providers who have started rolling out their own wallets, this particular data helps them to understand what are those areas where they have to do a partnership, so that their wallet not only gets adopted, but they generate a revenue, and at the same time, they give customer a way to pay seamlessly without even carrying cash. So this is the power of data analytics from the perspective of telecom. Having said that, the power still remains even if you talk outside telecom, whether it is finance, and nowadays finance and telecom is closely knitted together, whether it is manufacturing, where data helps in understanding and telling the stakeholders or helping them to identify how many of the technicians are productive and how many are non-productive, or how's the inventory being managed, which is data also helps in inventory management for telecom. There are n number of use cases. It also helps us to plan the disaster recovery. of telecom centers so that the network is not impacted. It also helps in automating the basic operations or issues which happens in network by rolling out certain in technical world certain scripts which can easily be triggered. But all these automation rollout of scripts basically is driven by the data, because it helps the telecom provider to identify which is that location where this automation needs to be done, whether the automation needs to be done or not, and how much of the automation you can do it. Having said that, I would now, I see that you guys have, couple of you guys have certain questions, and I would take the overall questions one by one and try to answer. So we have one question: which of the tools or software like Python, Tableau, Power BI are most popular in demand for data analytics? Okay, I'm not, so since the name is not there, so it's anonymous, but I'll answer that. If you see, the kind of tools which are being used majorly for data analytics is Python, from the perspective of processing data, and obviously Excel too. From the perspective of visualization, it is Power BI and Tableau. Or in terms of ranking, Tableau becomes the first and Power BI becomes the second. So this, I hope that answers your question. Salim says, doesn't it increase the radiation when increased network latency or when we move to upgrade 5G? To certain extent, the radiation, yes, it increases, but it is the power of the data which is telling telecom providers to basically enable, or basically help. The data is helping them to come up with strategy where they can not only give the best experience of 5G, but also ensures that the environment is not impacted. So yes, it definitely increases it, but there is a solution which is being worked on. The data points that you are discussing are all these data points bought by telecom from different app. App is just a way of visualizing data or processing the data, Anuja. The data points is well within the system of telecom. It's like, for example, Anuja, you want to make a cake. Now you have all the ingredients, but if you don't know how to make a cake, then how will you make it? It's in a similar way, telecom has all the data within themselves in their respective systems. The data analytics is one such platform. You can call it as a tool, or you can call it as a programming language, which helps them to curate. It's similar to that overall cake vessel where we put the batter, and if you want to put some chocolate chips, and then we put the oven. So the overall cake vessel, I'm sorry, is nothing but the data analytics tool, and the oven is the data presentation layer. I hope that answers your question. How data analytics will be affected by data protection bill in 2019 in India? Okay, so Manoj, how it will be affected? The data analysis from the perspective of data protection bill. Okay, so I do not recall what that exactly that bill talks about, to be honest, Manoj. But having said that, the overall data analysis from the perspective of data protection, which is similar to GDPR, as per my GDPR in Europe, will ensure that the data is not transferred to other location. Eventually, telecom, whether it is telecom provider or any provider, they would find ways to basically have the data processed in chunks. And we do have technologies which support, right? From the perspective of technology, with respect to different kind of data, whether it is file-based data, whether it is batch or stream, we have Hadoop, we have streaming ingestion, we have Kafka, which does on-the-fly analysis and then puts the summary in certain location, so that the overall cost of the hardware or the storage is not increased. Having said that, the storage is not exhausted also. So overall deployment and analysis strategy would change, which is changing slowly. We are moving towards, we are leveraging different kind of tools. We are leveraging the concept of processing the data in memory or over cloud within in a stipulated defined region. What are your thoughts? So I hope that answers your question, Manoj. Dilip Kumar says, what are your thoughts on compliance, integrity, and ethical behavior while we handle and manage data? Well, compliance, integrity, and ethical behavior is is the core, is embedded as a core foundation stone in the data analysis. And if I have to tell you what is my opinion on that, well, if we do not uh, rely or follow the compliance of how the data needs to be managed, if the integrity of the data is at stake, and if it is not managed in an ethical way, then it would bring devastations like not giving relevant answers to the stakeholders. uh, Organizations would be put into scrutiny. It would invite a lot of external attackers, which could lead to data thefts too, which is which is not a good thing, Dilip. From where do they get data of consumers? Oh, your SIM, your call, you have your CRM database, the call which you are doing, billing revenue management, CDRs, which is voice data CDRs. You only generated selling. You, not only you, I also generated. Which of the software skills like Python? I think, Natasha, I answered that question. How data helps in initiating new business in new area? It helps. Okay, if a telecom provider has to open up a banking system, Anuja, then or enter into that particular banking area, wants to open be a bank too. Now they cannot do it on the fly. They need to understand whether that will be a sustainable business or not. So based on the subscriber and the data of the subscriber, which would tell them what is how many of subscribers they have at currently, how many are loyal, which means how many of them are being with using the same sim based on the age, not the age of the consumer, but the age of the service, like 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. How many recharges and how regularly the recharges are being done? What is the value of the recharge? What are the different services the customer is using, which is provided by telecom provider? All these data points helps telecom to understand that if they venture, let's say for example, if they venture into this wallet payment system, will it work or will it not work? And also it gives them a forecast or a ballpark figure of what would be the ROI. I hope that answers question. How much Excel is needed in real life data? Like basic level, we need to have full grip on Excel, data as Python. How much knowledge of Excel is needed? So again, this anonymous person, a very good question. And if you ask me, Excel is one of the basic but yet powerful tool of data analysis. Whether you learn Python, whether you learn R, that's a different story. But for every data analyst, Excel is something which he or she should know, because the kind of functions and the way the Excel provides those functions with an explanation in a simpler format of understanding not only gives a better experience to a developer to do an analysis, but also equips them with the knowledge of what exactly linear regression, time series correlation, or random forest means. In Python, you have to write certain programs. You have to use import OS, import math, import matplotlib, import lina, import scikit, import numpy, import pandas. Here it is click of button. So if you ask me how much knowledge, well, it is very difficult to quantify, but for me, it is 100%. I hope that answers. How much importance does domain knowledge play in telecom industry? As a data analyst with little knowledge about, can I enter the telecom industry? See, in telecom industry, domain knowledge is obviously required, but if you have a little telecom industry knowledge, but you are willing to understand, and if you understand and most importantly, if you understand by seeing any kind of data, what is the story it is trying to tell, then definitely you can enter, Kiran. What extra measure is needed from data privacy, data security, and data retention policy, considering constant security threat in cyberspace? What extra measure? I haven't completed my analysis, Girish, on that. But having said that, from the perspective of data privacy and data security and retention, first and foremost, data should be retained. There has to be a different uh, division of the data retention, as in a considerable amount, but yet in smaller amount. The data should be retained in the live system. The rest should be put up into different uh, locations, or you can leverage blockchain capability to basically ensure that the overall data is distributed in different miners, and as the which is a decentralized manner, so that even if there is an attack, or even if someone wants to tamper the data, considering the principle of blockchain, which I know is basically in order to have that particular tampering or playing with the data or changing with the data, you need to not only do a mining, but you need to have a consensus from majority of the miners, which is not an easy task in cyberspace. Could you please suggest some databases to get telecom data for analysis and do projects for educational? Databases. So one is CRM database, another is BRM database that will tell you about the overall billing management. The third could be, the other database is not really available, Sumesh, publicly. But if you want to try it out, there is one site called data.gov.ny. It's a public data site which basically hosts n number of data in Excel format from different industry, where you can do projects for educational purpose. How much knowledge of Python is needed for a data analyst? You should be an expert, Lavanya. You need to be an expert. Is SQL skill required skill for? Yes, definitely it is required, because your data also resides on SQL databases. It's not always unstructured. Is it possible that data analytics is replaced the backward feedback strategy, or both are very different? Can you explain, this anonymous guy? What do you mean to say it is replace the backward feedback strategy? As in, if you can elaborate it in simpler language, it will be great. So I am waiting for you, anonymous, and let me go to the chat window. Sir, do you have any YouTube channel? I have my webinars, which comes on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Payal, what telecom is driving business or OTT? Swiggy, OTT is, if you can see my screen, if you see my screen here, now this mobile phone. Now, if I go to my YouTube channel and watch any song, this is one OTT platform. If I open my Netflix or Prime window, telecom provider would know how many times a user is using what kind of OTT platform, and it helped them to strategize whether to partner it or not. For example, in India, if you recharge your phone, or if you recharge your Geo Fiber, you definitely get a free OTT platform. Even if you have a SIM with respect to Reliance Jio, Vodafone Idea, Airtel, they have this My Airtel, My Jio app, which is integrated with different certain apps, Geo TV, Geo Savan, and otherwise. And similar is there in Southeast Asia, and even in APAC, or I would say Asia, Japan, Pacific, where telecom are providing their own apps and channeling or partnering with different channels or different media content providers to onboard them on their platform and provide it to their customer. So how does it drive the business? It drives the business. It increases the customer engagement. First, it ensures that there is a recurring recharge of the plan, which is happening. Third, the commission basis from the OTT platform. Okay. Can you please share the YouTube channel? Okay, my YouTube channel, it is generally I do not upload it on my YouTube channel, but having said that, it is in the name of Ankesh Diwari, and it is always a live streaming which happens there, Payal. Is there a team which compiles these dashboard, or is it the sole responsibility? No, there is always a team, data visualization team, Smitha. Okay, we have a question. Let's see who has it. Okay. Are big technologies like Hadoop, Spark used in data? Yes, definitely. I just said there are different kinds of data. Could be coming in batches, real time, or file system. Now, for such kind of data, you cannot store such kind of data in your database, Oracle database or Postgres, right? You would need Hadoop. So it is used. And nowadays, Yugabyte has come up as a much better way of storing data up and above Hadoop. So this is another solution, anonymous. Okay. I'm not sure what your name is because it comes as anonymous. So don't mind if I call you anonymous. I hope that answers your question. With growing age of IoT and which rely on SIM cards for remote, how do you foresee the data? It is, I see, it is going to be very important. Why? Because Hemant, IoT device, one simple example of IoT device I'm going to give you. If you go to a any merchant, there is a POS, point of sale device, which is like a credit card machine, right? The SIM is inserted, even if they are available in a lot of gas stations. When we plug in the card, so eventually a transaction happens, either through card or QR code, whatever you want. Now, the use case is, if I am a merchant, now that particular, so before I tell you that use case, always remember, Hemant, the POS SIMs have certain capabilities and they are not supposed to be removed from the POS devices. But what if I merge, if as a merchant I remove it and start using it for my personal usage, that will be a loss. How will telecom provider know which device is the SIM being used, which is supposed to be used in the POS? It is the data analytics. Now moving to IoT, fiber optic sensing, which is, and fiber transmission is one of the important factor in 5G. So if there is a fiber cut or if there is a aberration at a fiber layer, before the data transmission is affected or the experience is affected, how will the telecom provider knows that there is a problem with the fiber, something needs to be done? It is the data analysis, because the fiber will send certain signals which would be received by the acoustic signal sensors, which would, again, the third step would be converted into a data data set, which using the machine learning concept of autoencoder would be converted into binary part. In the binary part, you multiply it with 15,000 to get an unsigned binary 32 digit. Then you visualize it by multiplying it with 256. So because the intensity of the pixel is 256, and there you would see what are the kind of blips. If there is a huge change in blips, the telecom provider would know that there is a problem and they can rectify it before the damage is done. So this is the power of data analytics, which is going to increase by leaps and bounds in years to come. I hope that answers your question, Hemanta. Jasmine, as a salesperson, how do I use the data inside to sell more or retain the customer? Simple. As a salesperson, your data analysis would be used to understand, to first identify the area where you have potential customer who is going to buy your SIMs. As a salesperson, you would come to know what are those areas where the adoption rate of your SIMs or adoption rate of your telecom services has gone down, so that once you know where it has gone down, you can basically deploy your right resources to enable and build that up. For example, if I have to, if you're a salesperson in Geo and you want to see that which are the areas where the Geo network is not there. Now, the data will tell you how the network planning or how the network has been laid down, which will tell you what are the areas where Geo coverage is great and what are the areas where Geo has not yet established its footprint. You would go down. Now you don't have to identify area in a city, right? You know which is that particular area. Either you will go or you will send your executive to understand what is the population. And in fact, you don't have to even send your executive, because your data would tell what is the optimal population there, which will help you to decide whether you should go there and establish your tower, or are there potential customers where you can go and sell your services. I hope that answers your question, Jasmine. Remember, in tier 1 cities, we have societies, right? In every society, this Geo, Airtel, or in whether even in Singapore, we have condos where all these service providers are there. So how do you think they come to their condo in Singapore or in India or in any place? It is the data which tells them about the population and eventual possibility in terms of the customers who can buy it. For HR person, HR analytics, it tells you, first and foremost, it helps you to understand the employee experience. It helps you to understand how how has been a considerable performance of an employee. Third, it helps you to understand whether the rating given to employee is fair or not. Imagine, Lavanya, there is an employee who has been faring well, A grade or outstanding, whatever is your band system, he is getting for consecutive 3 years. Fourth year, he gets a PIP. It's practically not possible why a PIP is given. So you need to identify whether it is due to a manager's uh, difference of opinion between manager, or is there a certain problem. So before you put into PIP, you basically increase the experience by helping them. This is one way, one important thing of HR. It helps you to understand what is the attrition rate. If it is increases, what needs to be done, why. What kind of data can be involved in campaign management? Data coming from your apps usage, data coming from your geolocation, data coming from your recharges. I hope that answers your question. How data analytics can help in railway sector? In railway sector, data analytics helps to streamline how the trains should be scheduled. What are those areas where trains are never on time, which is bad? What are those areas where data is not really doing things where the service of the railway is very poor, the connectivity is poor, the signals are not signals of what the traffic signals of railway is not working fine. How many accidents are happening in which areas? So railway can basically take enough necessary steps to minimize it. Even there are sensors on the railway tracks which tells them what is the health of the railway track, and proactively railway sector can eventually take necessary action to improve it. How the personalized customer experience evolved in future, and also what is something still challenges data analytics in telco. See, with 5G coming in, there are a lot of challenges. As I said, cloud management, viewing experience. One such challenge is 5G is supposed to make smart cities as well as make the life easier, smart homes. Now, it is not as easy as we say. Okay, it is not as easy as we say with respect to smart city and smart homes, because there are a lot of data, different kind of data which comes into picture, and eventually with different kind of data, the overall curation process of data becomes a challenging. You would have a lot of missing values, you would have a lot of misaligned attributes and values which you need to sector, which you need to align it. Krisha, for oil and gas sector, if you can say something. For oil and gas sector, one of the important use case is fiber leakage. Okay, and just 1 minute.
Okay, I think Ankesh will join in. But
No,
with
no,
that said,
I am there. I'm just
yeah, yeah.
answering so many.
Just to, sorry to cut you down, Ankesh. There was just one notification for the people out there. So we have circulated the feedback form, everyone. The link is there in the chat window. Just get the feedback form filled up and type down done. And Ankesh, I think we'll just pick up one last question. We are already out of time. So the chat window is already flowing in with questions, and we have another session starting in at 11:30. So we'll have to end the session at 11. So when one last question we'll pick up and we'll get the session wrapped up. The folks who are still left out with questions, I would request them to put it to the academics team. Just drop an email to academics@insaid.co. I'll make sure that the questions are forwarded to Ankesh, and Ankesh will help us out with the answer. Yeah, just fill the feedback form, type down done in the chat window. Over to you, Ankesh.
Yeah, sure. So I'll take this one last question of oil and gas sector, because this is a bit new. It's not new for me because I've worked there. So in oil and gas sector, boss, Somen, the whole thing is, what are the problems? The leakage of the oil, because it traverses through the pipe from certain location, the theft of the pipeline, the third, the viscosity. So data helps in understanding and preventing the theft of the pipeline, because there are sensors which are placed. So as soon as someone touches it, there is a notification set. If there is a leakage, the sensors would tell that there is a liquid leakage, so a proper team can be set at the appropriate level. It also helps in preventing leakage. For example, if there is a damage on the pipeline, which could be a potential leakage point, the sensor would tell. All these sensors, now sensor is not going to give a call, right? to the pipeline or oil and gas executive that, hey, I'm going to, there is this potential at latitude and longitude, this is going to break. It sends the signals, which is nothing but data. I hope that answers your question. So as said, guys, this was the last question, but having said that, please put your questions onto the relevant ID which has been shared. I hope you liked my session. I tried to make it not only as crisp as possible, but ensured that I am less on presentation and more on from my experience. Do give your feedback, and happy learning.
Yeah, thanks, Ankesh, for such an amazing session, and thanks for picking up as many questions as possible so patiently. So that was one of the most, one of the best part of this session actually. So you picked up as many questions as possible. And the attempt behind these sessions, everyone, is to give you an high-level overview of how analytics, data science is being used in different industries and in different regions of the world. Yeah, so that's pretty much about this conference. Tomorrow we are gonna have the last session for this conference, everyone. So we would request you guys to join in. Tomorrow we have a speaker. He's actually special speaker who actually was one of our first students here at Insaid. He has been transitioned into data science and has been working in the Southeastern Asia region. So he will be picking up as many questions as possible with the next speaker tomorrow as well. So would request everyone to join in tomorrow. We'll be concluding the whole Southeast conference tomorrow. Yeah. With that said, thanks again, Ankesh, for taking up your time and taking up these questions so patiently. I think everyone took up something or the other from this 1 hour conference that we had. Okay, so thanks for joining in, everyone. I think you have the session links you'll get the session link for tomorrow by email, so you guys can join it. Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining in. Bye-bye. And also for the folks who are still in the feedback, I again posted the feedback link. Just get the feedback form done so that we can, start improvising going ahead. Yeah. So thanks for joining in, everyone. Bye-bye. Yeah, so the folks who have their regular sessions at 11:30, you guys can join in. And the folks who don't have any sessions, you guys are done for the day. Yeah. So yeah, the last session for C conference is going to be tomorrow. Ragini, you'll get it in Insaid Thursdays. We'll upload it over there. Yeah. Sundeep, I didn't get your question. If you are referring to the next session of C conference, it's going to be tomorrow, and that is going to be the last session for Southeast Asia Data Science Conference. Yeah. Sundeep, I hope I have answered this for you. Okay. Chalo. Thanks everyone for joining in. Bye bye. Sundeep, the regular training session. So you are from the April batch, I hope. Which batch you are from, Sundeep? So regular training sessions will start from next weekend, Sundeep. So this weekend was primarily for the C conference, and from next weekend, your orientation and the regular training sessions will start. Yeah. I hope this clears now, Sundeep. Sundeep, what you can do is you can just take the email ID that is academics@insight.co. I'll just post it up in the chat window. Academics@insight. So yeah, the email ID is already there in the chat window. Just drop an email to academics. They will help you out with all the issues that you are facing. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for joining in. Bye bye.